What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. And before we get into this video, I do want to mention that the movie we're talking about today is a film from Norway, and it is spoken in Norwegian throughout the course of the film. So I do apologize if I get any of the name pronunciations wrong throughout the course of this review. But today we're talking about a film that actually premiered last year around this exact same time at Fantastic Fest, and over the course of the tail end of last year was in a couple of other festivals, and now this year has been sprinkling out for a wider release, and later this week is going to be coming out on the horror streaming service Shudder here in the United States and some other countries as well. And I got to check it out a little bit early, and that movie is called Nightmare. Written and directed by Kjersti, Helen, Rasmussen. This film stars people like Eili, Harboe, Herman, Tømmeraas, Dennis Storhøi, Peter Forde, and many more. And as I typically like to do anytime I get to check out a movie a little bit early, I'd like to say a big thanks to those kind folks over at Shudder for once again sending me over another one of their movies to check out a little bit early and tell you guys about before it drops on the platform. Now, I do recognize most of these videos tend to get more viewership though once the movie's actually released, and that's what brings just random viewers to my channel. So if you are one of those random viewers, I'd like to welcome you to the channel and also say hit that subscribe button, as I do get the opportunity to cover a lot of movies early here on the channel, specifically from Shudder. So if you have Shudder, I'm your man. Now today we're going to be talking about this Norwegian film called Nightmare. Now there's an actual Norwegian title for it that I don't want to butcher. I'll throw it up here on the screen so you guys can see what it is originally called. But the name they're giving it across the world that you can find on Letterboxd and other places is Nightmare. And that's exactly what this movie is all about. The movie focuses on a couple that's moving into their very first apartment that they are getting together. There's a bit of a shakiness in the relationship right out of the gate. There's kind of like a weirdness about this place they moved into right out of the gate, but they're hopeful for a good future. We learn pretty soon that they got this nice apartment that they're living in because there was actually a woman who passed away there, a pregnant woman, and we don't really get too many details until certain things in the film start to unravel. The boyfriend in this situation, Robbie, is the one who's the most excited about the prospect of starting a family. He's looking forward to the life that he has with this girl that he's with now. He's constantly working, so he's not always home. He's a very busybody working guy. And yeah, he's talking about kids and all these different things. But the main character of this in this movie, Mona, played by Eili Harboe, she's not necessarily excited about the prospect of having kids. She feels a little bit off about the idea, to be completely honest, and he doesn't really seem to get that. So there's an element of them kind of having a disconnect, and him consistently telling others that they're gonna fill the house with kids and that he's looking forward to having kids, and she 100% does not want to have kids. Along the way, they meet some other individuals who either want kids or like some strange next door neighbors that seem to have some problems going on that already have a kid. And there starts to kind of develop a bit of a horror element to the movie. I don't want to get too deep into the horror element, but what's specifically happening in this film is that Mona is having sleep paralysis. The movie opens up with some subtitles on the screen giving us a little bit of background on sleep paralysis. For anybody who is unfamiliar with sleep paralysis or has never dealt with it themselves, it's essentially where you are asleep, but you feel like you're awake. You can look around the room more often than not. And a lot of times people tend to have a sleep paralysis demon, or that's at least what people call them, some sort of entity that you can see or feel is near you, but you're incapable of moving or stopping the situation at all. So this movie takes the premise of sleep paralysis, of the nightmares and the inability to do anything within those nightmares, and adds a folklore horror element to it as well, on top of the sleep paralysis demon element. On top of that, there's also a lot of metaphors in this film for the pressures that women face societally. While our character is dealing with sleep paralysis, they're also kind of struggling with the paralysis of feeling like they have to kind of live up to a certain expectation, not only for people around them, but for her partner. She doesn't want to necessarily jump straight into the motherhood role that a lot of people tend to put the pressure on women for. And she's struggling with that, and she feels like she's disconnecting from her partner. And then you have the sleep paralysis horror element of the film that starts to kind of unfold, which causes some issues within their relationship. On the surface, I think think it's a really interesting premise, and I think that there were a lot of things about this film that I thought were really interestingly done. And the main things I can definitely praise about the movie without a doubt are cinematography that I think are pretty solid throughout the course of the film. There's a nice eerie tone to the film as well, some good musical score moments as well, some solid editing, and for the most part, outside of a couple of moments that seemed a little strange to me, I found the performances to be pretty solid, with Eili Harboe, the main actress, being the standout performance in the film for me. But if I have to be completely honest, I didn't really fully connect with this movie. While I was able to take away everything I've just said about the film from watching it, and I was really interested to see where it would go, I'd be lying to you if I said I was entertained or really super intrigued by this film. This is a film that for me had a stronger premise and stronger pieces than the actual whole, and I honestly can't see myself going back and revisiting the film. The first half of the film for me was a drag, if I have to be completely honest. There was just so much slow pacing and some slow build up to moments that ultimately just kind of started to kind of have me lose interest. Now, what I can say is as our main character starts to uncover what's going on, other people get involved, and she starts to kind of figure out a way that she can maybe fix what she's going through, I found that things started to ramp up a little bit more, with the latter half of the film having far more shocking moments and far more exciting moments than anything that happened in the first part of the film. However, even with that said, by the time I got to the credits rolling at the very end of the film, while I can say there were really strong elements there, especially in the performance department, I ultimately was not really in love with this film, and I can't see myself going back and revisiting it. But I am really curious to hear what people have to say about this one, because I do think it has really interesting commentary, taking the sleep paralysis idea and adding that into the idea, again, of feeling paralyzed in life, especially when it comes to being a woman and dealing with a lot of the societal pressures that they consistently face. I think that this movie definitely tackles that element of the film pretty well, but as far as a compelling and exciting and gripping narrative that I'm looking forward to revisiting or even suggesting to others, I can ultimately say that Nightmare for me did not fully work. But I am curious to hear what people have to say, as I mentioned. So if you enjoyed this film and you disagree with me, please leave a comment down below. Let me know what you thought about the film and where it worked for you that maybe it didn't work for me. Were you a fan of that slower pacing that maybe just didn't work for me? Did you find yourself captivated by the narrative? Whatever the case may be, leave any and all comments down below. And also, if you're similar to me and this movie just didn't work for you, well, let me know what you thought about the film as well and why it didn't work for you. I'm definitely curious to hear what people have to say about this. I'm wondering if this is a film that will connect more with a certain demographic than others. But whatever the case may be, again, leave any and all comments down below, and I'll see you beautiful people in the next one for more early reviews of Shudder films and movies in general. I'll see you guys in the next one, all right? Bye-bye.